Okay, so two things real quick. One, did you know that the phrase many happy returns doesn't actually have anything to do with astrology? Yeah, I've been lying to people this whole time.
The whole time? The whole time?
Yes, the whole time. And two, where is the money that I was promised would show up after my Saturn return? That's what I really want to talk about. In due time, in due time. Hi, Cosmic Cuties. It is your friendo, the Lady Ms. Vagina Jenkins, and it is time for queer astrology, and time specifically to talk about planetary returns. Nothing to be afraid of. They're just a check-in space. The deal with the planetary return is pretty simple. It's literally the planet returning back to the exact place it was in when you were born, and then getting to check in with yourself around that particular planetary issue. I interpret it that way because to me the planets are teachers of lessons that we're meant to understand before, we leave this earth. Those lessons play out in both the sign way, like whatever sign you have this particular planetary placement in, and in the house way, in whatever area of life you might find this particular planet. I think the most popular or famous or infamous planetary return is the Saturn return, which typically hits people around 28 to 32-ish, depending on what sign you have for your Saturn placement. But yeah, Saturn, if it's trying to teach us any kind of lesson, it's trying to get us to create structures, boundaries, show up and be responsible for any particular thing, depending on like where we have it in our chart. And the Saturn return is an opportunity to check in. Have you made those structures? Have you asserted those boundaries? Have you shown up and been responsible to what it is that you're meant to be responsible to? Also a transit that we only get to experience every 30 years or so it may feel as if it hits harder because it's unfamiliar to us. Yeah, a Saturn return is an opportunity to check in about the task that you were assigned at birth, whether you are on task or off task. And I gotta tell you, Saturn returns only seem problematic from what I have observed when people are refusing to be on task. That's when Saturn has to sort of remove distractions. I hate to say distractions. Saturn will shake things up to allow us to be on task for the responsibilities that we were assigned. That's the idea behind the planetary returns. The other thing I'll say about it is that you can experience you can experience a planetary return or a placement return with any of your chart placements to a point. Depends on the transit time of the planet. So for example, the moon, we know, makes its journey through all 12 signs in about 30 days. That's what we call a month. So you could do a lunar return chart literally every 30 days. But at some point during every month, the moon returns back to the exact degree and moment it was in when you were born. And so you get an opportunity to look at the lesson that the moon is trying to teach you about your emotional landscape, about understanding your intuitive energetic body. And you get to check in with yourself about, okay, this is what my emotional landscape is looking like. This is what my intuitive energetic body might look like for this month coming up. So yeah. And then on the other end of things, we have those outer planets like Pluto, Uranus, Neptune. You may not see a planetary return on those particular planets because they have such slow orbit times. It takes It takes Pluto, I want to say 284 years, could be 248 years. I could be transposing the numbers. I know that Uranus takes 84 years. So if you were a particularly blessed elder, you might see a Uranus return. But yeah, most people alive right now might not see planetary returns around those particular planets. And in case you're curious, here is a table of these planetary orbit times. Pause to read. So at this point, we know the theory behind the planetary returns. We've got a couple of examples. We talked about lunar returns, Saturn returns. You understand that it depends on the time that the planet needs to orbit and make it through all 12 signs. I also wanted to mention that the reason why this matters is, yes, so that you can look at a particular time through a particular lens. Like, oh, I would like to do a chart for my Mars return to understand like what my energy levels and vitality might be like, how I will get my goals taken care of, how I will show up for myself, that kind of thing. But you can also look backwards at where you've been and how many cycles you have gone through. This is where the evolutionary astrology of it all comes in, with each cycle of each of these planets. How are you leveling up? How is your life growing, changing, spiraling upward and outward? Those kinds of things. And then to interpret them. And this is just a really brief way of looking at them. With any chart, I definitely want to know the rising sign, because that is the energy that we're meant to embody during this particular time frame, you know? So I want to stick with the example of the lunar return. And right now, my favorite app, Time Passages, tells me that the moon is at 3 degrees 9 minutes of Scorpio. The chart that I'm looking at for this moment is a Gemini rising chart. And so meant to embody this kind of Gemini energy. When I think about Gemini energy, I think about going with the flow of your curiosity, allowing yourself to indulge in the hobbies, and allowing yourself to read all of the audiobooks, allowing yourself to have conversations with other folks, allowing yourself time and space to do the journaling that feeds your soul, that kind of thing. So yes, to looking at the rising sign first, and then I want to know whatever planet we're looking at, where is it placed? We know what sign it'll be in, but what house is it now in of this new chart? And what can be said about what area of life we might be manifesting this particular lesson. Something about our emotional landscape that contributes to our feeling of physical health or challenged by our daily routines. So yes, to having some curiosity, doing some deep diving, maybe doing some journaling about daily routines and how they might affect your mood and emotional landscape. That could be useful during this time. And then thirdly, I want to know any aspects that are being made to the planet that in question. So for this example, I see that the moon in Scorpio is trine some of the planetary placements that are in Pisces right now. We have a lot going on in Pisces. We got the North Node, Neptune, Venus, and Saturn sitting in Pisces right now. And the moon is trine to all that. So yes, to this supportive relationship. Where does this person have Pisces in their house? So what area of life is supporting their health and daily routines? And vice versa. And then I can see that the other major aspect that's being made is a square to a Pluto cazimi, Pluto sitting in the heart of the sun. So maybe we're getting some clarity around shadow work during this particular lunar cycle. But maybe that clarity comes when we do our Gemini rising kind of embodiment, when we are curious, when we allow ourselves the time and space to journal, to talk with folks, Yeah. All right, that's it. That is the video. I just wanted to talk about planetary returns. I think that there's not enough information out there about them, and I just wanted to start the conversation. Do you, in fact, track your transit? That is it. That is the video. I just wanted to touch on planetary returns because I felt like y'all thought maybe Saturn was the only one. Am I wrong on that? Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. And I will gladly be wrong because the work of the truth is more important to me than the work of being right. Speaking of work, if you would like to support my capacity to do this work and put out videos every Wednesday, please consider becoming a channel member. Channel membership starts at $3.99 a month. You get really cool perks like custom emojis and loyalty badges and the ability to see content before it's published anywhere else. Now, if the membership option seems outside your capacity, please consider the option of just doing a one-time tip via that thanks button below. And if financial remuneration is outside your capacity entirely, please just keep commenting, keep liking, keep sharing my content to your homies, because that kind of support matters immensely as well. Oh, P.S. You know what happened to my money that I was supposed to get after my Saturn return? Faulty astrology, predictive astrology, and that's why I don't believe in it. Yeah, around, I don't know, I think around the age of 25, 26, I got an astrology reading, and I specifically asked about money, and the astrologer said, oh, your money picture will be much improved after your Saturn return, because I have a second house ruled by Capricorn.
Oh, the lie detector determined that was a lie.
Now I gotta track down this astrologer and ask him what's up. What's up then? You owe me reparations. I mean, not for the crappy reading, but for other stuff. You know what I mean. Okay, I'm just rambling at this point. Thank you for watching my video, making it to the end, and thank you, as always, for making time for queer astrology. Bye, y'all.